can you just kind of introduce yourself a wee bit and a bit of background to you before you started writing the book?
Yeah, so my name's John Gerard Fagan. I'm from Muirhead, and before writing, I was doing economics and marketing at university. And then I tried to get some graduate jobs in banking and things like that. It didn't really work out for me.
Yeah.
I moved to Australia after I graduated.
All right.
But yeah, just for a year with like 5 of my best friends. And that's when I started writing travel stories and that sort of thing. So that got me the bug, and that's when I wrote my first book. And then from there, I've been writing ever since. I've done a master's in creative writing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then that took me to like 28, and I still wasn't really getting any work. I was doing factory stuff and call centres and just trying my best to get something permanent. Nothing really was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decided to go to Japan.
Okay.
And that's
and that takes us to the start of the book.
It does, yeah.
That sense of, because it's such a profound sense of disillusionment at the start. Just like there's just, you can tell just how much we're like, fuck this, like just need to do something else and get out somewhere else. And I think that's going to resonate with so many people, because I think like this age group, like just we've all been there, we all feel that. So
yeah.
It's such a strong start, and then you kind of think, oh great, he's going to Japan, it's going to be brilliant, and then like it's maybe not what you it doesn't go where you kind of expect it to maybe go. So did you go out when you left to go to Japan, because you were already writing before anyway? Did you have it in mind to write this as memoir while you were there, or did it all come about after?
I didn't think I'd go to write the memoir, because it was a wee bit different for like when you're travelling, you write down your wee travel stories.
Yeah.
But this was living there, so I thought there's no point. It did cross my mind at the start. I was like, oh, I could write, but then I started at like almost 7 years after.
Oh, right.
Like, so
okay.
So like going back to the very start again, but before it was too far away because I was still in Japan.
Right. Okay.
But it wasn't all bad. Do you know, like when I was in Fishtown, there was some good periods and really good periods, but I think the darker side tends to come to the front more often.
I think that's quite close. Like that's just what happens in life. You kind of remember the bad stuff more. It sounds to have more of an effect. And but I really liked the bits like when you were in the football team and stuff. That I thought that was really quite just surreal almost. Just going out and ending up in this sort of wee league team in Japan. Like
it kind of was surreal. Like when everyone's just staring at you at the start, like thinking you must be some professional. They're like, because a lot of Eastern European players and German players and that go over.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of Brazilian players as well. So it was like, it was different from playing in Scotland when you're kicking lumps at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going out there in some sort of Scottish football star.
Yeah. As you go there, like, you know, when you're playing football here, everyone's shouting and encouraging, and so I'm doing that, getting really excited as I would normally play football, but then everyone else is just silent and just like clapping or good ball, well done, like in Japanese and everything else. So obviously I realised after about 10 minutes that I'm running about like Scott Brown basically. But it was good. They didn't like it in the first game.
No.
But eventually it was like they get used to like more like a cheerleader sort of guy on the park.
I like that. So in terms of like going over there to teach, was that something like, is that just you just had no idea what else to do, so you just thought, right, teach, go out?
Yeah, like I'd done a TEFL course before just to like broaden my horizon. I had lots of wee courses, but that was one people were looking for over there. So you need a degree, a TEFL course, you can do the teaching. And I just done my master's, so I thought in creative writing. So I thought I can do creative writing classes and have some different experience, so I can come back here. Because my goal eventually was to teach at universities.
Okay.
So I thought this experience will help.
Yeah.
But some of the schools loved that, and some of the schools are like, no, this is not what you're here for.
Mm-hmm. So have any of the people you met, like the other sort of expats, you know, that you became friends with, or even the people that you taught alongside, have any of them read the book?
Yeah. Like,
what was the reaction to that?
Most are like really good, I'd say.
Okay.
All of them are really good. I got one from David, who's at the end today. I'll just read that out actually, because he sent this morning. A wee picture. He said, I read it in a few sessions. I loved it. A nice balance of clear-eyed and intoxicating prose with just the right amount of indecency and shock. So that's
a great way to view that.
into these sort of things. And and I spoke to Sad a couple of nights ago.
Oh, okay.
He was telling me he really liked it, and
good.
There was a lot of things that obviously weren't included from our experience together in there. But when I wrote this out, it was double the length, and I had to like really make it concise.
Right.
With the editing process as well, otherwise it just meanders everywhere.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the writing process as well, and obviously there's a long time you were away. So how did you edit it down and decide what you wanted to include in it and what to leave out?
Just once I had, it was probably more than double the length at the end.
Right.
And then I decided I need a clear story of just like my progression through, rather than meandering off into doing little trips and meeting people and stuff. So just like whatever went too far away, like the main story, and then things that were repeating themselves, because you're going to repeat a lot of experiences as well when you're out there, because you're in a wee town, you're doing a lot of the same things again. So but on the balance, I think it was very much the origin story in Fishtown like was the main part of it. So I thought I'll keep to the core and then go from there. So
I did feel that it felt like it was in two parts almost. Like you did get the Fishtown, and then there was just sort of the remainder of your time in Japan, which was equally good, but not the same as the first half.
I suppose that's like I'm changing as well, and my life's changing, and so because when you first go there, I'm in my 20s, I'm daft, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then I'm slowly learning and changing.
Leaving in your 30s and all growing
exactly.
up, come back to Scotland. It felt like, because even though it's a travel memoir as such, it still felt very Scottish. Like that did really come across, like the language you use, like the Scots and just the colloquialisms and everything. It still felt a really Scottish book. So was that quite important to you to still keep it Scottish at heart? You know, keep it very yourself?
I think I didn't really change my accent a wee bit. Like I slowed down a lot. So when I come back, like people in my family saying like, you're talking posh now, because I was I was very more pronounced and slow, and otherwise no one would understand me there. But no, I didn't want to lose my voice in the writing as well. Like my first reaction was, I'll write this in Scots, because that came naturally, and I've done a lot of stories that way. But then I thought that might alienate a lot of people, and it's not as a Scottish story, but it's in another country. So far, it might, like the American people that I know over there, if I gave them that in Scots, they'd be like, because even one of my Irish pals had Train Spotting in Japan. I was like, oh, brilliant. Turned it over, it's all in English, and I was like, what is this?
Really?
And it's that, and that played on my mind as well. It's like if people can't really get into the language, especially this, then it might, especially for a first book, I thought I'll keep in like the Scots, like some of the languages that are like pertinent to what I'm going to say. I wouldn't translate a word in English, but the majority just put it the way I would speak without being too far, and
I think that's how a lot of us speak. Like not all of us speak in broad Scots or whatever all the time. Like it just comes like the odd word here and there, and I think that came across really well in the book. So it was good. So the way it's written as well is really unusual. Like it is just little streams of consciousness. And is that the vision you had from the start from writing, or did you want to start writing it more traditionally, like in complete prose, or did you just want these little sort of verse things to start?
Well, I started it on my phone at the airport, the last one.
Okay.
So I wrote that out exactly how it is. And but I thought after I was writing them all out just for my own memories, when I decided I'll send this off for publishing, and I thought I'd have to change it all into prose, like proper structure, because I've never seen anything, especially this in a memoir, being done like this before. So I thought probably when I send it off, people are going to be like, "Oh, it's good, but it's a bit strange, a bit weird. Can you put it into a normal thing and expand it that way?" So I was prepared for that, but I didn't want to do that. I thought this looks good, and it's in terms of speed. Like the first couple of readers I sent it to, like people in my family, they just like flew through it. So I was like, it kind of works then. So
yeah, definitely. I read it in a night. Like it's just you know, kind of sort of like picking it up, and I would read more, and I was like, I'll go do something. I've got stuff to do. I'll go do it. And I'm like, no, I'll just read another one. I'll just read another one. And it's you just literally can't come out until you see what happens to you and where you end up. So I think pacing wise, speed wise, it just flows so well. It's like I said, it's like nothing I've ever really read before. Like it's
that's perfect, isn't it? That's what you want.
Exactly.
I think I got lucky with the publisher I went for with Guts, because Julianne, they're really seen what I wanted to do with it. So she wasn't too heavy-handed and saying, "Oh, you need to change all this." When I first got the phone call and I discussed it with them, and she loved the style, so I was like, that gave me a lot of confidence to say this is probably the place I want to go with. And so
they seem very bold and just wanting to try new things, and it's great to see a publisher do that rather than just thinking about the commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously you want to sell books, but I think people are looking for something different now. There is a lot more, and especially like Scottish literature does seem to be on a bit of a wave. Like
it does, yeah.
And it just seems like writing wise, it does seem to be really, really taking off right now. So
I think so too.
Especially that sort of memoir-y kind of thing. Like people are wanting real stories.
Yeah, I think realism's a big part in any writing. I like it, even in my fiction as well. Something that's not to say that science fiction, fantasy are a disadvantage there. But even with that, if it's still real, if you can feel the story and feel the characters, then it resonates more with you. So
definitely. So what are your kind of influences as a writer? Who or what has influenced you mostly, do you think?
I read a lot of Cormac McCarthy. I think he's the best ever. So he doesn't use punctuation and stuff, and
no.
So he lets the reader figure it out as long as you can do it properly. So I'm influenced by him. Charles Bukowski, I like his little real stories. They're raw and so things that he says, like the juice part, that every line of every story should have a little bit of juice, a little bit of flavour.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to bore your reader. You're going to lose them.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of influences the style as well. It's I don't want to be too long and meandering as well. So they do it in I suppose Japanese writers as well. I've read a lot of Japanese fiction. Starting off with Murakami as well, his sort of eye novels are taking one person's story going through Japan. I think that sticks in my head.
Did you have any hesitancy about certain things and about meeting your girlfriend over there and stuff? Was any of that you kind of thought, oh, do I really want to say this or anything, or was it just go for it?
I think when I first wrote it, there was a lot more in the relationships and stuff like that. But then when it was going to go out to be published, I was sending out, I was like, I can't say this. I don't want to say that. And so some stuff I held back.
Yeah.
But what's in there is it's still personal, still really personal stuff. So again, you do fill up with a little bit of anxiety at the start, oh God. what am I doing here? Like,
yeah, I'm putting this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done interviews before, and people say, well, I feel like I know you now, and that's kind of strange. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see
what
that.
Do you know about me?
Yeah,
so,
I know what you mean, but it does feel like getting text off a pal, your book. Like, it does genuinely, like, you can imagine your mate being over in Japan and saying, this fucking weird thing happened, and just sending you that by text. You know, it does have that kind of vibe, so I can understand where people are coming from. Although it must be very strange for you.
That's a bit, yeah, yeah. Like, I didn't think I've had a lot of stories published, like over 100 now.
Oh, wow.
But I've never had. I've wrote a lot of novels, but I'm waiting to send them out till I got to the level I wanted to. So I thought that would be first,
right?
And then people would know from the books, and then I could do a memoir or stuff. But that's just, it wrote itself basically. I was writing very fast with this, and within like a year it was ready. So I was like, I guess this is going to be first. And
it just happens. Like, you can't really control it sometimes. So what's the other kind of stuff you're writing, like your novels? What's
so the very first book I wrote was in Australia. That one back when I was like 22, and that was called Who Stole Me Tucker Bucks.
Okay.
Now, it's a good title, but the book was terrible.
Okay.
It was terrible. It was kind of like all the characters and people I met when I was out there.
All right.
And this little, I think your first reaction as a writer, many people do this, is like write something that's really close to home. So I was writing about a little Glasgow story.
Okay.
About someone that's going to go to Australia. So it was kind of influenced by my own life. But it was just terrible. Reading it back, I was like, oh, it's rubbish. So I wrote like a good 5 books after that, just try to get better, like post-apocalyptic books and horror books and different Scottish ones as well. And then I've sort of been focusing recently on Japanese literature.
Right.
So the one that I'm going to be sending out to be published is a Japanese one set in Fishtown, but from a Japanese fisherman's perspective.
Right.
So I was thinking when I was over there, like, what sort of people live here in the next 20, 30 years, or what's it going to be like? Because it was just like slowly but surely things were closing down and people were migrating away. So I thought the fish factory people, what's going to happen to them? And then I took it and made it kind of sci-fi and floated along. So I think that's the story worked when I was there, because that's all I was thinking about. And I was hearing these weird chimes as I was going to school in the morning.
Okay.
And I was like, what are these? And they come on at 8 o'clock in the morning and then 4 in the afternoon. I was like, so I recorded them. I was like, maybe I'm only hearing, maybe I'm hallucinating, maybe I'm going. So I thought, it turns out they're tsunami chimes. They test them at certain times of the day. So that was weird. But I thought if someone was living there, they had no one else to talk to, no one else to ask about them, then what would they be thinking? Like, so it's my first reaction for that. So it's kind of like a book that's taken. It's a strange book, but it's we'll see what happens.
It sounds like the natural progression, really. It's obviously and going to influence your work, so it's sort of profound. But it sounds like that kind of place that's going to get under your skin a bit, regardless of whether you want it to or not. You're just going to.
It does, yeah. But the second year when I was in Yaizu, things did settle down, and I was in a routine, and I had like a little friendship group, and that's like the stories like this. The life was good, so it's not that much in the second year. Just like having a lot more relaxed time, because it was just like a stick of dynamite ready to explode before, because I was obviously, as the book goes, I don't stay there for 3 years.
No. So. Would you go back and visit, or is that part of your life done apart from the fiction and stuff? Or
I'd go back to Japan, but when I'd never been back to Fishtown after I left. I didn't go back. It was weird. I thought I would,
right?
But I didn't. It just never crossed my mind really to pursue it properly, because so many things to do in Japan. But I'll definitely go. I didn't think when I was leaving for the last time that the pandemic was going to happen and I wouldn't be able to travel and able to do anything. So it's like, that's changed my perspective a bit. Because I like travelling before like this. I went to, it was 6 countries before I come back to Scotland, and I've been here.
Yeah, so you've been tied down completely by this pandemic.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, I'm learning, not learning, but when you live in Scotland, you don't really go anywhere. I'm speaking to people in Japan and like American stuff. They're like, "Oh, I've been here," and I'm like, "No, I only went to Skye like recently, about 6 months ago, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world." And stuff like that. That I just stayed in Glasgow, or meant to be a trip up to Edinburgh, and that was it. So it was.
Yeah, it is weird because everyone's like, people not in Scotland talk about how beautiful a country it is and how much they want to visit and stuff, and then we just totally take it for granted and never really.
We do, exactly.
But yeah,
like Aberdeen, I've never been up to Pittodrie. I've never been up really in the city and stuff like that. And there's like, I heard one of the guys that I was up surfing in Aberdeen. I was like, so,
you just don't expect it at all.
No.
Or there'll be people like, "Oh yeah, there's orcas off Orkney and stuff," and it's like, really? I didn't know we got whales in this country.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. So what was your, looking back on the book as the writer of it, what's your favourite part of it? Like, what do you look back and go, "Oh, yeah, that's either the favourite memory or the favourite part of it that you've written"?
I think joining the band was kind of like so that gave me like a really good feeling. Even thinking back, putting myself back in that position, like, because it was something I wanted to do. I never thought, when I first went there, obviously, when I met with Steve and that, he decided we're going to start a band, and that just like fell apart. So I was like, oh well, because it was quite easy there to get set up because you're different, and they like sort of different music, and they want to put different bands on their lineups and stuff, and so it was quite easy to get started over there. So then when that happened again, I was like, it was really good.
So is that something you do? Do you have a band now, or are you still involved in music?
I don't. I've hardly met anyone coming back here because of the pandemic. I would like to start a band here again, just not for like fame or chasing songs or anything like that, just for like playing sessions and stuff and gigs, and it's a good wee feeling, like as a musician, just to like play and just get in your own head and not play for anyone else. It's a good wee buzz. So
So how does it feel being back after that? Like, obviously you came back into a pandemic, so it's would be different from how it would be different if it wasn't. Does that make any sense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what? I think it's kind of worked in my favour a way because I've been away from everyone for so long and been isolated that coming back, it's gave me a little bit of a breather as well, not being overwhelmed by everything. And because your family wants to meet all the time because you've not been here for ages, and that kind of cooled that a wee bit. So and a wee bit of reverse culture shock. I think coming back, I'm looking for Japanese food in the supermarket, like when I would buy, and there's food I miss now. It's weird. I never thought I would, and just stuff like that. And I bib a lot all the time. Just just naturally, just like so some people will still get a wee bit, but I can't untrain myself now. That's 7 years every single day bowing to almost everyone you're doing, so it's like it's ingrained in you. And little things that I'll say like it's a Japanese thing to say, "I'm listening," when you're speaking, so I have to untrain myself with that because people are like, "What are you doing?" It's like weird things like that, but it's a wee bit different, but I'm getting used to being Scottish in Scotland again.
Adjusting back. Cool. Thank you so much for this, though. It was lovely to meet you as well.
You too. Thanks, Sarah.
No bother. Cheers, John. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.